Way to be in St. Mary's County. This is fun. And to be at Buzzy's. Yeah. Now I have something to talk about, you know? Listen, I love coming to events like that. So first, I guess I ought to tell you, so my name's Pete Ron. I am the Secretary of the Maryland Department of Transportation. And I love coming to these every time with the governor, because when I go somewhere with the governor, he's always announcing that we're going to fix something with transportation. And as always, you're going to hear that today from the governor. But before the governor speaks, I'd like to introduce some dignitaries that we have with us today, starting with Senator Steve Waugh. Senator, thank you. And the you got a supporter over there. And so the Department of Natural Resources Secretary, Mark Belton. There you are. Mark. Delegate Deborah Ray. St. Mary's County Commission President James Guy. Commissioner Tom Jarbo. Commissioner Todd Morgan. And I'll tell you, that's a team. This is a team I love working with almost as much as I love working for the governor. And the only thing I can tell you is that whenever we do something like this, though, the governor always says he wants it done fast. And I tell him I'm doing it fast, and he says, do it faster. So let's listen to what the governor wants to talk about, and I'll get away from here. Please welcome Governor Larry Hogan.
Wow, thank you so much. I can't believe how many people came out here this afternoon. What an incredible welcome. I know you didn't come here for me. You came here for the 10-ounce beers. But I appreciate it. Is it like this every Saturday at Buzzy's? Every Thursday. We're going to put that on the schedule. Well, it's great to be here in St. Mary's County. You know, we spend a lot of time here. First of all, I want to just introduce the First Lady of our state. Does a great job. My wife, Yumi, is here with us. And my daughter, Jamie Sterling, lives in Leonardtown. She's a prosecutor for the county here. Does a great job, Assistant State's Attorney. So she brings me down here quite a bit, but we usually sneak into her house and we don't have this big kind of a crowd. So I want to thank you all for showing up this afternoon. Thank you, Secretary Ron. I want to thank all of our, you have great elected officials that represent you in Annapolis, and you're great local leaders. I want to thank them all for being here. And it's fantastic to be here at Buzzy's. I had too many 10 ounces already. I'm hoping we're supposed to go over to St. Mary's after this, and I'm hoping before we get to the college that I can get a few in me. I don't know what the schedule is, but I'm going to try to hang out and get a chance to meet everybody. This is one of our great old-fashioned general stores here in Southern Maryland. What a great tradition. I'm happy to be able to be here this afternoon. We've been all over Southern Maryland. We're halfway through our second day. This is our 16th event that we've done. We started yesterday. We're not even halfway done. We got all day today and all day tomorrow. And we're thrilled to be here in Southern Maryland to make several announcements. I told everybody when we were running that we were going to make sure that the areas that have been neglected for 8 years were no longer going to be neglected, and that we wouldn't forget about Southern Maryland. We have not forgotten about Southern Maryland. So we've been down here doing all kinds of events, but some of them have been to underscore our efforts to improve transportation throughout Southern Maryland and our infrastructure, which is so important. On Friday, we announced the project scheduled to widen Route 24 in Calvert County. Earlier today, we highlighted our plans to replace a 57-year-old Maryland Route 234 bridge in Charles County. And now we're here for another big announcement this afternoon in St. Mary's County. The fact is that our state infrastructure has been ignored for far too long. Over the past few years, $1 billion was robbed from the Transportation Trust Fund, and it was siphoned and diverted off to spend on things that had nothing to do with transportation. And as a result, our state had crumbling roads and bridges and the worst traffic congestion in the nation. and state funding for local roads was slashed by up to 96%. And you kind of put that in perspective, here in St. Mary's County in 2005, state funding for local transportation was nearly $6 million. But in the year before I came in, during the previous administration, St. Mary's County saw an 87% cut in state funding to just $794,000. These cuts were crippling to local governments, and last month I announced that this year our administration will allocate an additional $231 million in highway user revenues to local governments. That's an increase of 18.9%. And our administration is also committed to an unprecedented $2 billion, that's a billion with a B, dollars in infrastructure projects to finally move us forward on the top priority road projects, not only here in St. Mary's County, but in every single jurisdiction, all 24 jurisdictions across the state. So we're here in St. Mary's County, talk about an important step that we're taking to keep the citizens in your county safe with the investment of $13.5 million to reconstruct Maryland 5 from south of Camp Brown Road to Lake Kenoi Causeway at Point Lookout State Park. Sound like a good plan? It's been far too long. During the summer, and I don't have to tell any of you this, during the summer travel months, this Maryland 5 is consistently jammed with tourists heading south to the park using one lane with no shoulders. And in fact, traffic on this narrow road grows to 750 vehicles per day during the off-season to 4,900 vehicles during the summer peak. That's a huge increase, 7 times the normal volume of traffic. And these aren't just your average cars. These are families driving RVs and trucks, towing trailers with boats, and people that are often unfamiliar with the route, making the existing narrow, shoulderless road even more problematic. So with the average RV at 8.5 feet wide, trying to navigate a 10-foot lane is difficult, and it's just crashes waiting to happen. So if a vehicle breaks down here, no one can get by. If there's a crash, emergency responders can't respond, can't get to the scene, and thousands of families and visitors enjoy Point Lookout State Park each year, which supports the local tourism industry, restaurants, recreation, and sightseeing, and they also buy a lot of tackle and liquor and beer right here at Buzzy's. For years, residents and St. Mary's County leaders have been asking and pleading with the previous administration for help to fix this narrow road. Well, our administration, we've only been on the job for a year, but we're answering your call, and we're going to get started as quickly as possible on this badly needed project. This will help citizens get about their daily lives in a faster, more efficient, and safer manner. And widening and improving safety along this stretch of road is just one small but important component of our administration's nearly $168 million transportation investment right here in St. Mary's County. And it's just another way that we're changing Maryland for the better. So thank you all for coming today. And Secretary Ron, start building this road.
Yeah.